You know what I never tried? I never tried to gaslight the chat and say that I'm on time. So I'm going to do it now. I'm going to gaslight you, chat. Chat, are you ready? I'm so glad that I'm on time. Today I finally managed to do it. Like exactly when it was 11:30, I appeared, and therefore I was on time. I have nothing to apologize. I am glad. Um, I do like ripping on Matt Walsh for some reason. I do not know why. But it's due to the recent investigation that I did into the satanic panic. And I do know that Matt Walsh made the joke calling anime satanic, but there is definitely a growing trend on Twitter with people that do not appreciate video games, anime, and other sorts of entertainment, which is coming from the right this time, right? The right is moralizing again. And I looked into the satanic panic of the 90s, and it's very cringe to the point where you wonder how on earth did this manage to go? Like, how was it allowed to proceed? Also, I've been told by someone that my audio on the stream is 30% less than the rest of YouTube. I mean, I can turn down the volume a little bit if you guys want. Let me check. Or now, let me turn on the gain. Is this better, chat? I mean, it's a little bit louder now, but you guys can tell me. So anyway, right. The reason that I have my volume lower, as people keep asking, is because sometimes I have a squeaky voice, and when I go up an octave, it may bother your neighbors. But if you want me to just increase the volume, there we go. So, regarding the satanic panic, it was criticism given to, I think it was Dungeons and Dragons, mainly. But it was also heavy metal, so music. Like, it was directed at what the kids enjoyed. Like, that's the interesting part, right? So it was done by the older generation to the new generation. It's a little bit loud now. All right, well, we can lower it again. Alexandru wants me to clear the lens. Hold on. I shall now conform to Alexandru's demands. I shall clear the lens. The lens should be clean now. Let's see. Perfect. I do not even know how they get blurry in the first place, but they do. So, the interesting thing that can connect the satanic panic to modern criticism is that, and I think like this is actually different from what the left did, right? Because the left, when they criticized video games and got their censorship going, it was young people criticizing the hobby for young people. With the right, it's almost always the older generation criticizing the hobbies of the young generation. For example, just so you can see how ridiculous it is when you criticize something that old people like to do. And you can find the arguments. Sargon of Akkad is the one that brought it up. So he had a sarcastic tweet. Let me see if I can find it really fast. Here we go. He said that the right must reject fly fishing. It is a vanity sport in which men sink countless unproductive hours, which should be spent saving the West and promoting conservative values. Instead, your lifestyle should be subsumed into a permanent ideological regime of conservatism, right? So you can make the argument that certain activities, like actually you can make the argument that almost any hobby shouldn't be done because it takes away from meaningful things, right? Like literally you can pick any hobby, any that you want, and you're like, well, does it produce money? No, then why do you do it? It's a waste of time, right? Like this is what Sargon is trying to say. So it looks cringe when you go after things that the boomers like. But for some reason, it's the things that the new generation likes that needs to be banned, right? What I find interesting is that when people like Matt Walsh and his followers, when they try to go after video games or anime or whatever, you know, how do you actually do that? Because they have a Second Amendment. Like, you can't really ban video games. they're a form of entertainment and art. So you can't really. I mean, what do you do? You know, like, do you pressure companies to ban them? Okay, but then how do you justify when the left pressures companies to ban you? Like, how can you complain when YouTube demonetizes your channel if you're going to ask, yeah, but like these companies should ban video games, or they should suppress video games, or whatever? Work and pray, work and pray, work and pray, and slave your life away. Yeah, that's not a very juicy ideology, is it? But the point that I'm trying to make is that culture is very important, and it should not be dismissed. And the left understands this. This is why they this is why they hate Eric July far more than they hate Ben Shapiro. This is why they hated what was his name, Kanye West, more than any other far-right figure. It's because they understand how important culture is. And I do believe that anime promotes far more American conservative values than any American entertainment right now. Like, for example, My Hero Academia. Let's look at that show. What does it promote? It promotes hard work. It promotes that if you want to be the best, you need a little bit of luck, but you need to work really hard for it. It promotes friendship. It promotes the concept of redemption. Like, Endeavor is a very nasty piece of work, right? Like, Endeavor is a wife beater, if I remember correctly. I think, yeah, he's an abuser. There is no way that an American show would take an abuser and give him a redemption arc. But in the anime, like, Endeavor is a very controversial figure, which managed to destroy his family. Like, his wife ended up in a mental hospital. His own kid despises his guts. And through the anime, you have like this interesting redemption arc where slowly, because Deku encourages this, and everyone around the main character is being supportive, they're slowly like trying to get Endeavor to realize that, well, family is actually more important than his personal ambitions, than his legacy. Like his idea of legacy is that he needs to have his child live his own dreams, right? Like, he was very upset that he was number 2. He wanted to be the number 1 hero, but he was number 2. And because of that, he wanted his kid to become number 1. So basically, it's the type of parent that's very relatable, because everyone knows someone that does this to a certain degree, more or less. But where you want the parent, where you see the parent like forcing the child to live the parent's dream. And they can become very abusive, right, if the child fails. So Endeavor actually becomes the number 1 hero when the number 1 hero retires. So by default, he becomes number 1, and he realizes, oh, well, now I have responsibility. It's not just, a trophy. It's something that I need to live up to. So like, there's a lot of character growth there. I mean, these are, in my opinion, right-wing principles, because the concept of redemption, the concept of growth, the concept of family is very important to the right-wing mindset. You don't get that in American entertainment. And I do not understand why people like Matt Walsh, well, not necessarily him, like, he made a joke about anime, but there are certain people on Twitter that genuinely believe that anime is evil. And I'm like, okay, so like, what should people watch? Do you want them to watch Netflix then? Do you want them to watch Hollywood? Like, like, you replace anime with what? Because there needs to be some entertainment. Like, people go home and they want to watch some TV or do something, right? And they're like, oh, well, you need to go outside. It's like, what if you live in fucking Chicago and outside is deadly? What do you do then? Like, going outside is a privilege, not a right. Unironically, for some people, it is a privilege. It depends on what neighborhood you live. I mean, Pipkin Pippa complains that she doesn't go outside. I fucking understand. Like, she went into some streams, explained about how her neighborhood is like. I don't fucking blame her. Like, I think she is more safe staying indoors than going outside. I made a whole series of videos for Lotus Eaters on why My Hero Academia is based and the right wing should hold it up. Yeah, My Hero Academia is very based. Sure, you know, like from a Western standpoint, it may have like a couple of things that are bizarre. Like there is, I think, like in the last season, there was this lolly which liked a villain. I think like the villain was like the gentleman villain or something, and he had the lolly assistant. There was nothing sexual between them, but it was just like weird and bizarre. It came off as creepy, but I think like not everything translates well from Japanese culture to Western culture, right? But it didn't, and you don't even know if it's a lolly or just like a small person. I don't know the name of her, but like when I saw it on the screen, it was like some filler episodes that I really didn't like. But still, you know, comparing that to Cooties, the director cut, or things that Disney is putting out, she was an adult. I don't know. I mean, I never carbon dated her. It's kind of difficult to carbon date. She did love him, yeah, but it wasn't like sexual. Her being in love with him powered him up. I see. I do not remember exactly because I've seen the episodes when they came out, so that's a couple of years now, and it was like 2 or 3 episodes. But like we're talking about 2 or 3 episodes in a show with how many seasons? 5 now. La Brava was a good villain. She was a midget, not a lolly. Well, cope and seethe, I guess. I do not know. How do you know if she was a midget and not a lolly? Hold on, let me see if I can... Because it looked weird to me. Yeah, I mean, I guess it can be... Yeah, I think it does kind of look like a mature person. Let me see if I can. But again, like there was no kissing between them. There was no physical interaction. It was just. Let me show you guys. Hold on. The problem with anime is that they do not have like a way to draw adults and young people differently, because like in the West, Dexter and Dee Dee is drawn completely different than Wonder Woman. Like they have a different style. But yeah, so you know you get to interpret like whether or not she was a short person or. To me, it came off as creepy though. Like I genuinely did not like it. I know that some people really enjoyed the character of the La Brava, I think his name was. But I personally didn't like it. But see, that's the thing. Like, I can not like something and not want it banned. Or I can see, oh, okay, well, I didn't like this filler episode, but I'm still watching the show. I mean, there is a ratio of head size to body length to determine if a character is under a... Oh my fuck, like, are there people that are making this into an actual science? The villain was literally called Gentle, and the girl admired him, and he was her personal hero and did everything to save her when they got arrested. Yeah, as I said, I didn't like it. Like, that's why I'm bringing it up. It was creepy. But again, like, I can still watch the rest of the thing, because I do not watch it for these 2 characters. I watch it to see what happens with Deku. I want to see. Like, is Deku going to defeat the final boss? Who are the other ones that inherited... One for all. Anyway, it was not filler. Shut the fuck up. It was filler in my head. Don't try to make me think that it wasn't filler. I like them. They're really sweet. It's nice to see an actual caring relationship. You know what? That's so sad. That is so sad when you think like, okay, well, that's an actual caring relationship, because all the other things that are coming from Disney and everything else are so toxic. Like, think about it. Are there any positive relationships, like healthy relationships, in Western media right now? Because I can't think of any. The only ones that actually do work, I guess, Hell of a Boss. They actually have like that relationship between the female imp and the male imp, and everyone seems to like that. Like literally everyone is like, oh my god, you know, like they're actually a man and a woman, like heterosexual couple, and they actually love each other. And there's no like plot twist, like he's not trying to cheat on her, she's not trying to cheat on him. There's no toxicity. They genuinely love each other. And I'm thinking like, dude, that you don't get that. You don't get that in the West. I mean, look at He-Man, right? Like the remake. She-Ra, toxic as fuck. Clearly not the type of person you'd want to spend your life with. Invincible has that black lady that was like the girlfriend, also toxic as fuck. Like they just cannot make a wholesome relationship anymore. Is that a female power fantasy? Peter Pan and Wendy? I haven't seen that. Strong female women are toxic? I don't think it's that though. Like you can have like a strong female woman that's toxic with everyone, but at least she's loving with her husband. Like you can literally make a character like that. Like you can make a female character that is really toxic to everybody, but the person that she loves, she's actually nice to. Amber is toxic, I guess. No, seriously, can you guys think of a single character that's not like that? So what I want is an example of a TV show or cartoon where you have a heterosexual couple that just loves each other. Like there's no plot twist, there's no there's no toxicity, there's not no, like they legitimately just love each other. Kim Wexler. Kim Wexler is actually a good example. Yes, Kim Wexler and Saul Goodman. Yeah, they genuinely love each other. There's no toxicity there. I do agree with that. I guess like Better Call Saul, there's a reason why it's so good. A Spy Family, how old is that? I don't think like Kim is manipulative. Or are you talking about someone else? It's difficult to follow. The Archer guy from the Avengers loves his wife and family. If you have to go all the way back to the Avengers, that's barely even in the movie though. Like that appears like for a couple of scenes, at least in Endgame. I don't know, because I haven't watched the others, so like if there's anything more. The Vampire Queen DLC from Total War? The closest thing I got recently is Miles Morales has a positive relationship with his dad. He just didn't want his son to fall in a bad crowd. That's another point. Good fathers are almost impossible to find in American media. Like the concept of the good father doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure you can find like a couple of examples. Like I'm not saying they don't exist at all. But my god, like they're a rarity when you find them, aren't they? So first of all, like I looked at this in American media, like most of the couples, like if the story focuses on the child, right? Usually the parents are divorced. And if they're not divorced, the parents, like the mother is nice and the father is abusive. The only romance in One Piece is the quest for adventure, so he would probably hate that aspect. No, that's not true. I'm not that one-sided. Yeah, the dumb dad is the modern trope. But I don't think it's necessarily the modern trope. I mean, the dumb dad existed since Homer Simpson, since Al Bundy, Peter Griffin. Like, the dumb dad trope is very old. It's not something new. Why the dumb dad trope? Because you need a character that you can make jokes to, right? Like, you need someone that you can make fun of. And if it's the woman, it doesn't feel right. Like, if the woman becomes the butt end of the joke, it's not sense. Although I disagree, you know, especially because I used to think that. But now that I'm thinking, like, there's a lot of anime when the joke is on the woman. And if done correctly, it can actually be really funny and not offensive. So it really depends. Yeah, the Flintstones. But, like, the Flintstones, I don't think, like, Fred is dumb. Right? Like, does Fred come off as dumb in the Flintstones? Yeah, no, not really. I don't think, like, Fred is the dumb dad. To elevate women, dumb down the man. Yeah, I mean, this is actually new. Like, it didn't used to be like this. Um, but because the writers are so bad, and they're like, okay, well, you need to write a strong female character, and they have no idea how to do it. Then what they do is like they make the other characters around the woman to be stupid. So by comparison, she seems smart. There is a reason the go-to anime dad is May Hughes from Full Metal Alchemist. There's a lot of good anime dads. Except Goku. Goku is a horrible father. Like, Goku is actually the type of father that is so fucking bad, but he's not... I mean, he is dumb. Yeah, no, Goku is awful. Like, as a person to have on your planet and save the universe, Goku is amazing, but... to have Goku as your father, Jesus fucking Christ. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Like, Vegeta, unironically, is a better father than Goku. Vegeta is unironically the best dad, yes. Hands down, Vegeta knows responsibility. But yeah, no, Goku is an awful father from all points of view. He's a bad dad, but not a bad person. That's actually an interesting point. Because usually, like, bad dads are bad people, like Endeavor, as we talked about earlier. But Goku is actually a bad dad, but a very good person. I think, like, the problem with Goku is that he is a bad dad because he's an imbecile. Like, he just doesn't know any better. He literally doesn't know how to be a good dad, and he doesn't even know that he is a bad dad. So because of that, he acts the way he acts. How the fuck is Goku a great dad? Please explain to me. How is Goku a great dad? In what universe? There is no fucking... You're just trolling now. You're just saying that to troll. Vegeta refused to fight in any fights until Bulma gave birth. Yes. Vegeta has some of the best character development of all media. Went from a genocidal planet destroyer to a man willing to sacrifice himself to protect his family. And as I told a friend of mine, it's all because of the power of vagina. It's like that Bulma's vagina changed Vegeta from a genocidal maniac into... See, the power of femininity. There you go. Like, no other force in the galaxy could have done that. Besides the force between Bulma's legs. Like, she actually managed to tame Vegeta. See, that is a strong female character. Like, she goes to a one-shotting planet destroyer, apocalyptic entity, and with a couple of sassy looks and giving him a pink shirt, and she managed to tame that beast. Bulma was always the power of Vegeta. Yeah, that's true though. Because I actually spoke with a manga creator, and he was telling me about, like, I really liked in Dragon Ball Vegeta and his character arc, and I'm like, dude, you do realize that Bulma is the one that... Like, what? Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, holy shit, when I was a teenager back then, I didn't realize... No, like, think about it. The Cell Saga proved that Goku is a good dad. He helped Gohan obtain a new power level. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, he literally was allowing Cell to beat the living shit out of Gohan in front of his eyes, and then gives a senzu bean to Cell so he can power up and beat Gohan some more? Like, did we watch the same anime? Trey, thank you for the $10. People misunderstand Goku's parenting style because he's allowing his sons to learn real-life lessons through the life of its own. He also shows faith in his son during the Cell Saga. Again, I disagree, right? Like, not being there for your child is not good parenting, right? Like, you can't... Piccolo, for example, is a better parent than Goku. Like, Piccolo does allow Gohan to fend off for himself for a little bit, but he's always there, always watching, and eventually he actually does do the real parenting. What Goku does is not even tough love, it's just not being there. Like, Goku is the equivalent of a father that gives you a crack pipe and an Xbox and lets you educate yourself. That's not parenting, I'm sorry. No, and during the Cell Saga, as we discussed, he allowed Cell to beat the living shit out of Gohan. Like, that's not good parenting, no. The only reason Gohan survived is because of Deus Ex Machina. And oh, look, the new transformation. Ta-da! But, like, other than that, no. No. And by the way, not only that, but he could actually ended up destroying the Earth. Like, if I remember correctly, like, despite the fact that Gohan manages to defeat Cell, eventually he comes back and becomes a bomb and shit. Like, yeah. Excel Saga got the skillful male leader but mediocre female subordinate trope protagonist. If Gohan had a brother that just played video games and smoked weed all day, that would have been amazing. I'm actually curious, like, we don't really see Goten in Dragon Ball Super like that. See, this is what I hate about Akira Toriyama now that we're talking about the anime. He literally forgot that the character exists. So there's like that lady called Lunch. Like, she used to be this lady that had blue hair, and she was very clumsy, but when she sneezed, she became yellow hair, and she became very aggressive. He literally forgot that character exists. Like, she just doesn't appear anymore. Like, one episode she was there, and then she got Kenny'd. Like, she never comes back, ever. And this is the same thing with like Dragon Ball Super. Like, he's got so many interesting characters that I would want to see. Like Tenshin Han, for instance. I would like to see Tenshin Han. Like, no, I'm not going to see Tenshin Han, ever. You know, if you liked Yamcha, tough shit. So, it is disappointing. Like, he just forgets about these characters. Oh yeah, Mr. Popo also disappeared. Right? Like, the people that are trying to sell me that Dragon Ball actually has a story, I laugh at them. Let's see, Geekdom 101, and there was another one, Seth. Like, I was looking at Geekdom 101's channel, and I was laughing my ass off. Like, every single episode was abysmal writing. Like, we're talking about woke ideology level writing. And you had, like, Geekdom 101 trying to explain what actually happened, until he gave up as well. Like, there was an episode that was so fucking dumb that even Geekdom 101 was like, okay, yeah, no, fine, this is shit. Like, this is bad writing. But no, like, Dragon Ball doesn't have to be good writing. It's the porn of fighting. Like, it's how I explained it. It's like, you have, like, these porn movies where the woman cannot open the jar of mayonnaise, and the guy comes in and he opens it for her, and it's like, oh my god, you're so strong, oh, and they start doing each other, you know, like, the plot is just there to get to the main course. And in Dragon Ball, the whole thing is like, you know, like that, you know, like that. That's really it. Did you guys remember that the Jinx Pokemon became purplish? Of course she did. Let me tell you something else. Speaking of Matt Walsh, I have something for you, and hopefully you're going to like this. I made the joke, and it's going to be in my video on my main channel, that this lady did more for conservatism than Matt Walsh did. So if you don't know who this lady is, she is the vice president of marketing at Bud Light and made the famous and very popular commercial with Mulvaney. And apparently we now know that the company actually lost sales, because up until now we didn't know how many sales they lost, because it takes time to harvest the data, and we just know that their stock went down. But apparently they lost 23% in sales. It is so fucking bad that they tried to give the beer away. So literally, they went out, they tried to give beer away, and people wouldn't take it. So, this lady taught conservatives that, hey, you actually have purchasing power. Like, hey, you don't have to put up with this shit. So, yeah, and it's not just, you know, like the commercial, as you point out. She went to 3 different podcasts and doubled down. See, I only know about one, but I'm willing to trust Bennett's phylactery on this one. It was just one post. No, like, you actually had beer cans. It was an event. It wasn't just one post. And then they're like, oh, well, how can you do this to our poor, hardworking truckers? Yes. People are pointing out that the CEO has the World Economic Forum pin, right? So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but I do hold firm in the idea that she did more for conservatism than Matt Walsh. The reason I'm bringing this up is because Matt Walsh came out recently saying that, oh, the quartering, who is this? How many people did he convert to conservatism? Well, if he didn't convert people, then I do not take advice from him. And it's like, okay, well, you can take advice from the vice president of sales of Bud Light, because she probably converted more people to conservatism than you, I would say. It is like a new boomer, and again, it's the Satanic Panic remade. But the interesting thing about the Satanic Panic, right, is that number one, it didn't convince anyone. Like I don't think like people stopped listening to heavy metal because they genuinely believed, oh, it's the music of the devil, right? But the people that benefited from the Satanic Panic were the journalists that were pushing it. Because it was almost entirely pushed by journalists and concerned soccer moms. Now, the concerned soccer moms didn't benefit from it. They probably didn't make many friends. But the journalists did. Apparently, their competition are selling twice as well as them, as people are buying FU drinks as well. So, I will show you when I release the video on my main channel. It's a very interesting thing where at a football game, I think I can show you now. Let me check. There's this football game where the Bud Light stand is completely empty. So this is a Sox game. I do not know why people go watch playing the sock puppets, but so I can't play the music because copyright.
Funny and bizarre.
But as you can see, like this is insane. I've never seen anything like it, right? So you got the Bud Light stand, ice cold beer. No one is there. Like the people are so bored they're checking their phones. And meanwhile, you have people staying in a queue at the competition. Like it's insane. Like so usually people are too comfortable to boycott, right? Like people will refuse to boycott out of convenience, because it's like, well, I'm not going to stand in queue, blah 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 blah. But no, like in this situation, they would rather stand in queue than to buy Bud Light. And it's not just that, like there have been Bud Lights that were given away for free. Like the company went, okay, well, let's give them. People do not want to touch them, even free. Yeah, drink the beer, you bigots. Doesn't seem to work. They tried that. Like, there were a couple of bars that literally tried the drink the beer, you bigot approach. They went out of a business. They genuinely became a meme at this point. They're part of the culture. Like, it's being viewed unsavory. It's like saying the N-word if people see you with a Bud Light in your hand. What's interesting is that it's not like a boycott when the left does it, right? Like, it's not like Hogwarts Legacy, where if you play the video game, you're going to get activists that attack you. It's not that anyone is deciding to cut deals with Bud Light and then to stop doing business with them, like payment processors, deplatforming. No, like that's not happening, right? It's just that people don't want to buy the beer. And you can try and call people like, buy the beer, you bigot. It doesn't work. Like, nothing works. Americans have Thanos Snap Bud Light. No, it needs like another 25% drop in sales, because the Thanos Snap removes half. And this one just removed a quarter. So it's not Thanos level yet, but at this point it's getting there, because like the thing that happens with boycotts is that the only problem is getting people to believe that they can work. So once enough people believe that, oh, so like my purchasing power actually affects things, then it actually works. I'm really curious to see if it's genuinely because of Mulvaney. So Mulvaney went to a couple of other brands, right? Like they went to Nike. What was it? Maybelline, Bud Light. I'm pretty sure it was another, but I'm curious if the other brands are affected, right? Because I don't think they are. And there can be a multitude of reasons for this. Like, take into account that the demographic is different, but it's also... Oh, Tampax. Tampax is where they went. The demographic is different, but it's also the doubling down of the vice president of sales. If bars didn't boycott Hogwarts Legacy, then Bud Light would still be making profits even after the... Wait, bars boycotted the Hogwarts Legacy? What? You're making a joke, surely. Yeah, the vice president of marketing interview was definitely the final blow. Yeah, like that was the final nail in the coffin. Like, people were a little bit upset, but like not enough to cause a general boycott. You know, like Coca-Cola did similar things. Like, remember when Coca-Cola got Andrew Anglin? Sorry, my bad, not Andrew Anglin. Someone similar. The white fragility chick, Robin DiAngelo, right? I confused her with Andrew Anglin. They talk about the same subject, but on a different scale. So, when she actually managed to upset... like, she made a book, White Fragility, right? And then Coca-Cola took pages from that book in order to do their diversity training. And they were revealed saying stuff like abolish whiteness and, like all the other nonsense. So people took pictures of that and made them public on social media. So what ended up happening is that immediately Coca-Cola apologized and took down that shit. And they also lost sales, right? But if Coca-Cola had doubled down, and if they were like, no, yeah, we're definitely trying to abolish white, blah, 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 blah. And if they would have doubled down and they would have said, oh, well, our previous customers, they're out of touch, okay. They would have been Bud Lighted now. But that is how you actually fix a problem. You notice, oh, well, shit, we did something. And by the way, like, at these big companies, it's very likely that the CEO doesn't even fucking know. Like, dude, if I mean, I talk with people who work in AAA gaming. Like, do you think they know every single advertisement that goes on? I mean, they rubber stamp most of them. The bigger the company, the more difficult it is to actually know everything that's going on. But I wouldn't be surprised if, like, okay, well, someone made a marketing campaign and they didn't know. Okay. But then you apologize if you find out about it that people are pissed off. A Coca-Cola boycott would have solved the obesity problem. Not really, because then people would have gone for other drinks. Gillette was the worst. I do agree, Gillette was such a fucking meme. I do not know if their sales were affected. I actually want to check. Gillette sales. So Gillette says it's satisfied with its sales after the controversial ad. I press X to doubt, because if they were so satisfied that they would have made more ads in the similar manner. So they claim that the sales haven't budged. Well, how can you be satisfied with an ad if the sales don't budge? That's a failure. Like, an ad is supposed to make you sell more, not the same. Like, if the sales are the same after the ad, then it means that the ad was useless. But anyway, so the ad challenge is meant to turn away from toxic masculinity, which is literally everything that men do, of course. The spot was titled We Believe. Well, I'm glad you do. The company said that so apparently Procter & Gamble's grooming business, which includes brands like Gillette, Brown, and Venus, makes up 10% of the company, 66.8 billion sales. Grooming has been the weakest division at Procter & Gamble, and Gillette has lowered prices to compete. The company said on Wednesday that the sales for grooming fell 3% last quarter, and they're actually happy with the ad. I don't understand. If your sales fall down 3% after making an ad, how the fuck does that make you happy? I'm getting a question. A friend of mine is getting fully doxxed. Do you have any advice to help him? Ignore it. unironically, the best advice, if you're getting fully doxxed, okay, ignore it. There is nothing you can do about it. Like, it's out there, it's in the public. You should have done things before the full dox, but once you are fully doxxed, there is nothing you can do. Now, if you react to it, then you encourage the people that want to fuck with you to fuck with you more. It's kind of like a little rabbit in a cage. You know, if you poke it, it makes funny sounds, and the bully likes poking it more. But if the rabbit is dead and makes no sound, then eventually people get bored of poking it. I hope... I know it's not a satisfying answer, and people would prefer hearing some different solutions, but unfortunately, this is the best thing that you can do. Dev likes this take. Well, okay, if Dev likes the take, it's great, but it's a true take. So I guess like Dev likes truth. The only thing you can do is move. Depends what type of doxing, right? What if the bully never stops? Well, if the bully never stops, then you're saving some effort, I guess. Like, think about it, right? Like, doing things costs effort, but I guarantee to you, doing things won't make it to stop either. So, at least not doing things means that you're not getting effort. But no, eventually the bully stops. You wanna. Like, there is no way that the person has that much effort. Like, you're telling me that if someone fucks with you, like, they will still want to fuck with you 10 years later? Like, come on. This just doesn't happen. Like, eventually, everyone gets bored. But if you're being Christian and you keep delivering, and like, every day you keep doing things in order to return to relevancy, I mean, with Christian, it's a very peculiar case. Like, eventually people get bored, and it's like, all right, well, we kind of understand the entity that is the Christian, so like there's no more to be discussed here. Like, I'm bored, let's talk about something else. And then they go and fuck their mother, which is 73 years old or something, and it's like, okay, well, in that case, like, yeah, they're not going to get bored. In that case, even 20 years later, but it was like, honestly, like Christian is a story on how to remain to keep the audience engaged on the internet. Because again, like any other person, right? Like they gather a group of people that like, let's say, you do something stupid on the internet. Let's put it like this, okay? So you do something really stupid on the internet, and then people gather around and they're laughing at you, or they're trolling you, right? Eventually they go away. But there are a few individuals on planet Earth that have managed to convince the trolls to stay for way longer than necessary. And Christian, I think, is like the S rank of that. Like, they, so let's see what they did from the top of my head. I think they were in car with their mother when they ran over a guy who was the manager of a store, which disrespected Chris. If I have any Christorians in the chat, please let me know if I'm right or not. So like, that comes up in the news. People start talking again. There was a fire at their house. Like all of these events are like, like what? Really? Nani? And then it was the motherfucker incident, which, yeah. With the internet, you can pretty easily reset your entire presence and identity. No, you can't. Depends, right? So, like, if you're an average person that's not e-celeb, as they call it, then maybe. But like, if you're a person that's a content creator, a journalist, like someone that is an activist, someone with a large following, and you've been doing it for years, yeah, good luck running away from that. No, absolutely not. Like Count Dankula, for example, I don't think is going to have a job ever again, Because at least not in this culture, because just going to their name, you're going to find out all the pictures, all the controversy, the salute, the politics, right? So like Count Dankula outside of the internet is probably not going to be able to have a job because employers look for that. It's not something that I would want, like even criminals, they go to prison and eventually they manage to get out and they're considered rehabilitated. But with internet celebrities, no. And it's even worse for e-girls, right? Like if the e-girl ever showed a tushy, a boobie, or something like that, yeah, good luck getting a job. And unfortunately, once age starts showing its ugly head, they may not be as popular because the competition keeps growing. Meanwhile, I do my best to divide my persona from my real life persona. See, at least you're a smart furry. Remind me of what Uncle Kage used to say back when I was in the furry fandom. It was like, as a furry, you need to understand that society is not going to accept, nor should it accept, what you are doing. It's a fetish. It's like BDSM, right? Like, just keep it to yourself. If you see reporters, do not talk to them, do not engage with them, do not try to convince other people that what you are doing is hip and trendy. Right? Keep it in the fandom. And I agreed with Uncle Kage. He was a very smart individual. Nowadays, every furry has to go and display their persona in the public and demand that the public accepts who they are. Unfortunately, your social media can be tied to your workplace. And, if you think it's a smart idea to put the fact that you're a furry on your resume, well, hopefully the employer that you're advocating likes your persona. What can I say? Furry study hour? Never. Am I a furry? I used to be a furry. I am not ashamed of my furriness. You know why? Because in the neighborhood that I grew up, it was very dangerous. Most of the people that I hang out with when I was a kid ended up in prison. So I'm glad that I stood home, yiffing, and playing video games. The horrors that Matt Walsh warns us about. For me personally, I'm not saying for everybody, but for me personally, it was a good thing because I didn't manage to get in trouble with the law. I didn't manage to get influenced by some very bad people. So it is what it is. Show up in a fursuit at an interview. I think like some people actually do that. I think, what was his name? Sonic Fox. Sonic Fox is the one that shows up in a fursuit at the interview. The brewery from my hometown has one called Rots Raubier. It's much like that and very good one, for example. So, like, there was another beer. It was called Ultra Right Beer, which for some reason got cancelled. So you're not allowed to compete with the woke companies that are going out of business. Didn't they use some fursuits at some gala? Oh, fuck, I was supposed to talk about that. Shit. That would have been an interesting stream, which I will save for tomorrow. Please remind me if I forget. We need to talk about the Met Gala, because that's a juicy subject. Does this mean IDOB's girlfriend is unhireable because IDOB say they're not making money from creator class? Would it surprise you, super awesome, if I genuinely, unironically, do not know who IDOBs is, nor who their girlfriend is? I don't think so. I mean, it depends. Depends the type of content that you do. Depends what job you want to get. I mean, if you're a right-winger and you want to join construction working or Uber driving, you probably can do that. But if you want to join the vice president of sales at Bud Light, probably not. By the way, this is, you know what's the funny story with Bud Light? And I am willing to bet that this will happen. Like, chat, how much are you willing to wager with me? I will tell you something hilarious. Bud Light. That lady, I don't know her name. But the vice president of sales, how much do you want to bet she's going to become a salesperson at another company after this fiasco? Like, how much do you want to bet that that lady is going to be hired by another company after this fiasco. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that she is going to fail upwards. Like 10 years ago, any person, regardless of race, gender, ideology, or whatever, any person that would have caused such a financial disaster to their company for not understanding the marketing, for insulting the customers, not once, but in 3 different podcasts, they would never get a job ever again. It would be impossible for them to even show their face in that industry. Like, even other companies would not hire her. But I am willing to bet that in 2023, that lady, next year, she's going to be the vice president of sales. Maybe at some weapons manufacturing. Who the fuck knows? But it's definitely going to be something important. I think she is going to stay at Bud Light because she is a strong woman. Well, Ioana. Maybe you're right, like maybe Bud Light is going to keep her. I mean, is it impossible? No. See, I do think she's going to get fired at this point because the company is definitely trying everything. So it is possible that someone at the company is going to say, all right, well, look. They're probably not even going to give her the reason. It's going to be like, you know why we're here, right? Like, just, like, no, why are you here? Come on. You know. And she will be like, okay. So she's going to get fired. Now, it's interesting because you're probably right, Ioana. It may actually be difficult to fire her because usually they have severance packages and stuff like that. So they must, they may actually cost the company money. So it is not outside of the realm of possibilities that they will keep her for a little bit more. But I think eventually they will fire her. And when they do, she's going to go and join another company. Probably a bank. By the way, did you guys know that another bank went bankrupt yesterday? Like, it's interesting how it's happening, right? So, all these banks, they just go bankrupt overnight. And it's usually like the medium to small banks, which are getting absorbed by the big banks. So yesterday, like all of a sudden, just like this, like bloop, we have PacWest Bancorp plunges over 50% in after-hours trading. Right? So they have the strategic option of the sale and like bloop. It's almost, it's not even like the domino piece is falling at this point. It's almost like a finger keeps pushing these banks. This is my take on it. It's very bizarre. And what's even more bizarre is that the media isn't really talking about it that much. She works for the World... See, like, the thing with the World Economic Forum, I will tell you something in my opinion on it. It's such a fucking big and major thing right now that almost everyone, that someone, is associated in some fucking way with the World Economic Forum. So... take of that what you will. Like, just seeing the person there doesn't necessarily mean that they are in the ideology, but this lady definitely is. Like, yes, I agree. This lady, surely. Because the thing is, like, people say, well, Putin is part of the World Economic Forum. But look, so is... they infiltrated all the cabinets. And it's like, yeah, but, like... Have you tried running a business? Like, do you think it's so easy to puppeteer people? Like, try running a World of Warcraft guild and see how that works out. But no, like, just because, like, someone is at the WEF doesn't necessarily mean that they serve the interests of the WEF, but this lady definitely did. Yes. Yeah, Elon Musk was at F. Exactly, right. Like, it's a place where rich people go at this point. It's not just... a small gathering, a shadowy cabal of people. I mean, they're doing it in the open. What banks are staying strong is the question, the big ones. This whole thing is a domino wavering, and the fist punching it, and the other ones lie down. Does this mean that the WEF surpassed the Illuminati? I would actually have to look, but I wouldn't be surprised because of the technology that we have now, right? Like when the Illuminati were a thing, they didn't have airplanes and they didn't have social media. I do know that the Masons were another group, and I do know how they actually ended up failing. So the Masons, they were an ideological group which promoted each other in positions of power. And eventually, a journalist wanted to do an interview about them, and he was found shot and dead in the water. He committed suicide. People were really upset about that. That was the spark which suddenly changed culture against the Masons, and everyone started fighting them. Everyone stopped promoting them. Everyone stopped hiring them. Even the church was pushing this boycott. And that's how the Masons stopped being, So like maybe we're going to see the same with the woke one day. Who knows? But the idea would be like that there would be an event which would make average people so fed up with the culture, like they would be like so ugh, and that would trigger, all right, well, we're not going to hire these people, we're not going to promote them. Pretty much how the woke behave with conservatives, right? Like with conservatives, they're like, oh well, all right, you're a conservative, get out of the company. We need to make our own bank. Well, actually, I was talking with someone about this. Like, if you want your money somewhere, you now can choose the right-wing banks, quote-unquote, as in the banks which aren't woke. But they're small, medium, they're very risky. Or you can choose to go with the big banks, but the big banks are woke as fuck, so. It's kind of difficult for right-wingers to choose where they want to do business. The numbers, Mason. The Illuminati are still a thing? I don't know. But even if they are, like, I don't think they have the same power they used to. And even when they used to, I mean, it's kind of like being part of a club that helps each other. It's like an extended family, I guess. That seems to already be happening when people see pronouns in the bio or resume. I think, like, they made the research and it was like the they, them pronouns, right? So, the she, her, he, him probably are still a thing. But if you go with non-binary pronouns, you may have difficulty in getting employment. And I think it's because most of these people are walking lawsuits and companies are fed up with it. Like, they realize that, all right, so okay, let me give you an example that someone told me. Like, this was happening at a hospital. I'm not going to give any other details. I'm just going to talk vaguely. But they had, like, 2 social justice nurses. And these 2 social justice nurses changed the way the hospital operated, because the way it worked is that if you had a patient which required painkillers that needed authorization, so like we're talking about cancer patients, like morphine stuff, like they had to call the person on watch. And sometimes the person on watch was a guy, and they were like, no, we're not going to call him because we're not going to allow a man to tell us what to do, blah, blah, blah. Like, this was the feminist nonsense at the time. So now the entire system was changed. Like, apparently there was only one female doctor in the whole hospital, and sometimes she was in vacation, so she had to be called at home in order to authorize the medicine, and patients were being miscared for because they couldn't get their pain medication on time, right? So anyway, long story short, turns out that this guy comes into the hospital and has to figure out a way to fire these nurses. Like, there are people that you actually call for stuff like this. So he actually starts doing a chart, deciding the efficiency on people, like how much they actually work versus how much they spend on the phone, how much they talk, how much they spend in the lunch break, how much, right? Like, it basically assesses their actual work and contribution at the hospital. Turns out that after, out of the thousands of people that work there, those 2 woke nurses were some of the top at the list of being useless. So that's how they got fired. But it goes to show, like, companies have noticed this. This is not a one-time thing at one company. Like, this happens a lot. Like, you get people that do not do their job. They just talk and parrot ideology nonstop. And not only that, but they're disruptive to the workplace. Like, they rearrange things, they demand changes, they demand, like, the entire workplace caters to them. And you can't really fight with them because they have the ideology on their side and they're walking lawsuits and stuff. So a lot of companies are like, all right, well, we kind of have started to notice some patterns. Yeah, top of the useless list. They don't contribute shit, which is why they try to grab power. See, that's another thing that puzzles me. Like, if I were to get hired by a hospital, right, and let's say that I genuinely do not know how to do the job that I'm there, but I managed to get in through nepotism, I managed to get in through the back door, I managed to, doesn't matter, right? So you find a way to get into a place of business and you get paid a wage. Then I would just keep my head fucking down. You know, like when I went to high school and I didn't do my homework and the teacher was in class, I didn't start shit. You know, I didn't start like talking nasty to the teacher. No, I would shut the fuck up and hope that the teacher doesn't notice me. It's right, like, am I speaking nonsense? But like for some reason, these people, they go into these places, they know they don't belong, and they start shit. Why though? Why do they start shit? If they don't have any backers, they try to get power so they won't get canceled. It reminds me, Liongate Studios, was it called? I might be wrong. There was like this comic book which had, like, it wasn't big as Marvel and DC, but it had like some prestige because it was an old brand. And you have like the social justice lady which got fired, and she's talking about her experience at the company, right? Because like after they fired her, they hired her initially as a diversity hire, and then they fired her and she was really upset about it. So like she started spilling the beans. And she goes into this company and she's really upset. Like she notices that she doesn't have the skill to compete with the other writers and the other artists. So she tries to get them fired. And she really talks about how like she had this blog on Tumblr, how to get your boss fired. And it's like, oh, and she was like having this plan. Like she wasn't offended first and wanted to fire people. No. Like she literally went there and wanted to fire people just because they were men. And others because they were rude to her because they were better artists, so they were criticizing her art, right? Like, so that was her entire shtick. It was to go into the company and start trouble. So the first thing that she's baffled is like, why doesn't this company have an HR? Because the way like she read on Tumblr that you need to fire your boss is to get your company to have an HR so you can complain about the shit that she was complaining. So she starts pressuring for the company to get an HR. The company gets an HR, and then she starts recording like every joke, every single thing that the other artists were doing that were more talented than her. And then she goes to the HR with this folder and goes like, okay, if you don't do anything, I'm going to the media. So HR now has to fire their top artist at a comic book company. Like that's, they fired the guy that was there for decades. And, eventually the production quality of the company plummets because, like, she wasn't as good. But it is what it is, right? So, yeah, like, why no HR? Like, literally. But like, why would you hire these people? They're destroying your business. Makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, they were a small company, like, as I was saying. They were a comic book company, which wasn't as big as DC or Marvel. It had Lion in it. I don't know if it was Liongate or something like that, but it had the word Lion. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah, the more busybody at work. But like, what fascinated me wasn't that like she was offended by the guy and then like wanted to. No. Like she initially just the moment she saw him, oh, right winger, man, cisgender, needs to get fired. First thing that she, and this is from her own account. Like this was her blog that she was talking about this. The only HR you need is AI. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. But like, take into account the AR might not be that much better. Like, the artificial intelligence might be even worse than HR. I mean, look at ChatGPT. Speaking of artificial intelligence, something very funny is happening. So, the top companies in HR the top companies in AI are really scared that the people at the back are now catching up. So, there is the Llama model from Facebook. And the Llama model can run locally on a laptop at 75% the efficiency of ChatGPT 3.5. Now, what this means is that you will not need online access. And what this means is that someone can now create an uncensored AI that can run on phones. Like, I'm willing to bet in 1 or 2 years, everyone is going to have like a personal waifu on their fucking phone that they can talk to. Which means that all of these other companies that are now stuck, like OpenAI and Microsoft and Bing and Google, like the only thing that they're doing is focusing on safety. So like they want, no, AI safety this, safety that, like censoring the AI. That's what they're focusing on. The reality is that the public does not give a shit about safety. Like if you even as so like there are people in the public that say, well, yeah, like of course the AI needs to be censored. But if they get to decide, it's like, okay, you can install the censored AI on your phone, or you can install the racist AI. I am willing to bet that 99.9% of people will get the uncensored version. No one wants to be censored, right? Like people want to censor other people, but they don't want it themselves to be censored. So what will happen is this Llama AI and many others like it are going to just demolish OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, and they know it, right? So this is why they're now lobbying for activists and government to talk about the dangers of AI and other, right? Because like you're going to see even Elon Musk does it, right? Why? Because Elon Musk is trying to develop his own AI. But all of these companies, they want to like hammer. It's like, oh my god, this AI technology is so dangerous, so damaging. It's like, oh, how will you be able to tell a deepfake from an actual video and blah 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 blah? And what about misinformation? Oh my god, you can get the AI to write propaganda. And I'm thinking like, okay, but now you can pay 10 people and they can write propaganda. Like what's the difference? You know, like, oh, you won't be able to tell which image is true and which one isn't. That's a problem since Photoshop came out. Like when Photoshop came out, the resolution of the videos were really bad. And most people on those small monitors, yeah, couldn't tell a Photoshop picture from another. I do not understand. What is the concern here? Oh, they're going to replace jobs. That's like the normal thing that happens in humanity, right? Like social media replace jobs. Like all the online stores and all of the online places, they replace the retailers. I mean, come the fuck on, you know? Don't give me that shit. The only problem is now they're replacing the rich. Right? Because up until now it was, oh, the McDonald's worker gets replaced. Oh, the lady at the cashier gets, oh, now the doctor is getting replaced. Okay, fine, you know, it is what it is. But my point is, like, this is why they're fear-mongering about AI. It's because they are definitely afraid of the uncensored version of AI. And believe it or not, the hilarious part is that, yet again, the porn industry is what's driving this. Like, there is a demand for people to come to the AI, which the big companies aren't allowing. And this is creating autistic people to just use their own free time without getting paid, without anything. And they're trying to develop the new AI, which can run on your laptop. And they're very successful at it. And they're going to be even more successful. So, that's my take. It's going to be interesting. Lion Forge Comics? Probably. I don't know. Let's hope lawyers get replaced. So, like, you're not going to replace lawyers in the sense that the AI is going to represent you in court. But an AI which can write you legal documents, like, for example, let's say you want to commission an artist and you want a document to be written, I mean, that can cost up to $500. But you can commission the AI and it can do it for you for free, so. What they're worried about that will happen, we'll get all the truckers to be replaced. What will happen with all the truckers get replaced? I don't know. I don't think like truckers can get replaced though. But what they can do is like have one truck driver at the front of a truck convoy and you have like a little train on the highway. I think the technology for that does exist. A paralegal makes sense, but a proper lawyer would need to be creative and crafty. Yeah. But even then, you would still like I think like it would be a tool for lawyers to use, but I don't think like you would basically consultation would probably replaced by the AI. Like any person that's like, okay, so I have like this thing which may be legal or not, and they ask the AI like, what can I do in this situation? But other than that, yeah, I don't think that you're ever going to have like an actual AI represent you in court. Though honestly, you know, it would be preferable because at least I know that the AI doesn't have financial interest in dragging the case. I know lawyers who do that to their clients. Horrible. Basically, you know, they want to be paid for showing up in court, and they can just prolong the court a little bit with one client, a little bit with another, a little bit with another, and then it adds up. Anyway, right, truck convoy already exists and doesn't need AI. My bad, I wasn't talking about the fact that it needs AI. I was talking about the fact that truckers can be replaced. Yeah, like if you have a truck convoy, then it means that you only need one trucker for the job of 4 or 5, so... let me know what you guys think. Thank you for the donations, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section, and don't forget to check my main channel, for I will upload some videos there shortly.